I'm Cian Butler X. I'm going to be talking about Docker, but more from a developer's point of view, how I use it to do shit, and why I do it that way, maybe not. We'll see. So, what I'm going to talk about. Docker, what it gives you as a developer, and hopefully a demo of it. Hopefully. So, what is Docker? This is the last time I gave this talk. This is literally the place I lost everyone at the very start, because it's kind of difficult to explain. So, that's the definition of it. But as was said in the image in the talk earlier, it is basically just a fancy tarball. It's all your dependencies, all your code, even your platform, just bundled right up into one package that you can run on any machine. I could explain it in more detail about how it works and stuff like that, but I don't think anyone actually cares about how Docker works, just that it does work. Just to kind of explain it, the platform and everything into one bit, if you imagine the picture of the whale to be your machine, the kernel is our Linux kernel, and each container is a service running. So we bundle up, we take each service we want to run, and we stick it all together to one image that we can share out to everyone, run, and we don't have to worry about it breaking too much, depending on what machine we run it on. So hopefully it all works together nicely. So why you want to use Docker? This is where I think most people would care. So with Docker, you don't actually need to install anything on your machine aside from Docker. Just install it and set it up, and it's ready to go. Why this is good is we can clean up. It allows us to do stuff like having conflicting versions of software. So a lot of people in the room are probably Python developers. So you may have to use Python 2.7 or 3.7. 3.7? 3.6, sorry. You would have to use them. Most people, Python develop has virtual environments for this, but Docker is another alternative to this. The other people, like Java developers, have JDK 7 versus 8, backwards compatibilities there, so I don't think you really care. I'm a Node developer, and I actually have hundreds of versions I need to care about, because every version seems to be breaking change. Version 4 breaks with version 5, which breaks with version 6. And then if you go back to the 0.0 versions for some IOJS reason that I hate. But as a Node developer, Docker is a godsend for doing proper versioning. It allows me to run any software in one container. I can be running a process in the latest version 6, while I'm still running a legacy container right beside it that is my Node server. And they're both talking to each other, but not breaking. So that's my favorite reason. Other people like it because you don't have to clean stuff up. So it's set up with all its dependencies and everything when it runs. And instead of me having to, when I uninstall the service, having to go in, remove all the dependencies, clean up after it, figure out what it installed and I don't want, it's just gone. I just delete it and everything's gone. And then there's a really nice build process. So with Docker, it's a process not dissimilar to Bash scripts, but more verbose, I find. So you specify if you're running, if you're changing gears, and where you're mounting your volumes and ports in a very clear way that's pretty easy to see and understand. That's why I like it and why you should care about it. You also have tools like DocCompose. So this is a way of scripting your Docker environments. So you can set it so you start certain ports, map your volumes to folders on your machine, and you can have other services that depend on each other. So for instance, if I was running, I'll say Node server, I'm running 5 Node servers, and I need to know that 3 of them have to start before the fourth one. I can say that the 4th one depends on all the other ones. So once it starts up, so it won't actually start until I have the other 3 started. All of this probably depends on me connecting to a database as well. So I'll make sure everything depends on my database starting up first, so I don't get lots of errors. It also lets me handle DNS. DNS is a massive problem, I find whenever I run stuff. So it lets me map inside the containers the DNS entries for each other container, so I know that where they need to point to. So for instance, I can set my Postgres address to just be DB, and every container can find it because it's just looking for in the host file DB. And again, I can simply change stuff in it, and my entire environment's changed, and it only rebuilds the bit of the environment that actually needs to be rebuilt. So I have a dev environment that I don't have to really worry about setting up. I can easily change and make better, I hate that word, make the changes I need, make it how I want it, how it needs to be, and I don't have to worry about cleaning it up after it, and it's just one command to run it, in theory. So I kind of promised I'd give some demos. First demo is this talk is actually all running from a container. So I'm currently running a server on my machine locally to serve off my slides, since they're all written HTML prettiness. So it's not broken. My favorite. So that's the nicest thing. Just gonna show some commands before I do stuff. So we have a fancy API server for our website that does very little apart from rebuilding our website, but it runs as a container. So this would be an example of how to run a Docker command from just a command line. So you have, if I can find my mouse. So you have Docker run, just Docker run. This is me naming it Redbrick, and I'm setting a load of environment variables, mapping my port here, and naming the container I'm starting. This one is one that's actually accessible to anyone if they want to use it. It's on Docker Hub, Redbrick site. So with Docker, it's one of the easiest ways to change settings inside of it is to actually just set the environment variables. This obviously needs the code to be built to accept the environment variables as a way of changing it. So you might need, so not all programs will work like this, but if you had in mind building in a container, you would have set it up to use environment variables. So with us, we set our API keys and our recaptures from the environment variable, and it looks like this. I actually hate the Docker run command. I never remember the syntax of it properly and always have to look it up. So I use DocCompose for absolutely everything. It's basically just a YAML file, which I specify the image I'm using, the port I'm mapping, and the environment variables. It's easier to do. It also means I can script it and share it to other people on how I set my environment up, and they can easily look and use it, which is always handy when you're sharing code and working with other people. So it's clearer and easier to use. I'm going to try some demo live on building our actual TechWeek site and what it actually does, and hopefully this is going to work.
Please don't break it.
Yeah, it's probably going to break. Cormac, can you see that?
Can you zoom in? Zoom in a lot. Keep going.
Still?
One sec.
Sure. I'm reminded of Mac doing this last week and everything breaking. I'm very wary. Okay.
What's your password?
It's password. It's super secure. Okay, so this is what it looks like currently without anything in it. Just if I pulled this straight from GitHub, this is what I'd have. And I'm just going to show you what the DocCompose file looks like before we start. Yep. Okay, so this for when we do TechWeek, we actually don't have a custom image for it because it's just a build process. So we use the node image first. What we do is we have two things. One is a setup process that installs it to the current working directory, and the other one's actually a dev process. So what we have is we pull the node's LTS image. We name the container just so we can clean up later on. We run the command. We set a command of npm install. We use unsafe parameters because Node does not like being run as root, but containers always run as root. So we have to use unsafe parameters for part of our build script. We set the working directory, and we make sure that working directory is our current directory. We also have our dev environment, which if you're working on the TechWeek site, you want to change stuff live and stuff like that, you run npm run dev. You set it to have a TTY to make sure that we can actually shut it down easily, because again, Node sometimes has a little bit of problem running containers, and giving it a TTY always solves this. And we map out our ports so you can access it. So I'm going to do the install and then the live test, all going well. Okay, so up, install. So I've named this one. I've named it DocCompose. If I did DocCompose up, it'd try running both of them. This would break for this one. So I'm just doing DocCompose up install. I hope this doesn't take too long. What this is doing is it's connecting up, it's going in and installing all the npm dependencies for the environment. It's actually installing them to the host file system, which it will then access later on in the dev environment. This is really good live TV, watching someone install software dependencies and hoping it doesn't break. Yeah, this is great TV I've got here. What we're then going to do is we're going to run DocCompose up server, which, all going well, will run a gulp script that serves the TechWeek site on my machine, builds the TechWeek site again, and serves it to me so I can access it locally and see what it's like. Go npm go. Yeah, this is really boring. I would show you the running, what it would look like, but I decided I would go, I would risk everything and delete everything. Okay, it's actually got to the gulp script, so now it's actually building, it's installed it, it's building it, and it's telling me I should stop using external CSS, which is on my to-do list. Everything's done, yay. Exit code 0, where's my mouse? Okay. So I'm then going to run the dev container, which broke. Oh yeah, because I'm running my slides on the same port. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to edit the compose file really quickly. I cannot see what I'm doing. Okay, because they are both bound. Yep, both of them are using the same port. The slides I'm running in a container are running the exact same container with the exact same port mapping. It's almost like I knew that I wanted this to break. Almost, yeah. Totally didn't want to break. Okay. Because they're both bound to it, it won't take a port that's already taken. I could ask it to give a random port, but it doesn't want. But I like to set my ports for reasons. And because the JavaScript that does the live reloading actually needs a proper port to be set, so. Not that I need live reloading for this demo. Go. Okay. Let's see this. Okay. I don't see my mouse.
There.
Okay. Command F. Alright. 9,000. And we have the TechWeek website, which should actually be able to stream. Yep. But I like recursion. Don't you like recursion?
We need a recursion is terrible.
Okay, so that's basically how you would. So that's a quick way of doing a build script in Docker to kind of just take something that you normally need to set up Node and everything to do and just run it. It means you don't have. I could have just downloaded that off GitHub and just done DocCompose up install, DocCompose up dev. I didn't have to install Node. I didn't have to make sure I had the right Node version. None of that stuff was done. It was just a build script there for me, and everything's set up. Means that people can come along, interact with your project, not need to set up any environments. They can change stuff, they can make sure they can test it locally, and then they can push off any changes or make a pull request as needed. A lot of people in the committee hate Node, and by that I mean my admins. So they did not want to install Node on anything, and to be honest, I'm fine with that. So we actually in production have this similar build script that runs and pulls our code and builds it with this exact same build script, aside from a couple things different. I don't have any Python code. I only have Java code that does the same thing. But I hate the JDK, and I have never been able to install it properly. I think I got it installed once, and that would be the only time it's worked for me. Every other machine, I just use this to do it on. Yeah, that was a lot quicker than I wanted it to be. And it actually worked, which I'm entirely shocked by.
Just break it and then make it longer. Break it so the talk can be longer.
Yeah, that totally should have broken this. Yeah.
What's the overhead of Docker?
Docker's overhead is minimal. I'm currently running 2 containers and fluctuating at 20% of my CPU. What I found the worst overhead is the volumes on your hard drive. So it actually mounts every time you set a volume, it mounts it into var lib docker volumes. My current machine, unfortunately I didn't partition this the best for knowing this ahead of time, and I filled up my root partition pretty quickly. So that's where your worst thing is. Also images. Every time you download images, they are all saved. So if you decide you're going to download all of the images for every version of Node, you're going to fill your hard drive up insanely quickly, because they're not versioned in such a way that you can actually stack them on top of each other. They're built from scratch for each version of Node, and you just filled up your hard drive with images you're never going to use. So CPU-wise, you're not looking at anything over what you normally use on your machine. It's just containerized into an environment that if it gets, for some reason, on a host machine got compromised, you're not getting your machine compromised. Yep.
You mentioned downloading all versions of Node. Can you specify now a specific version and ignore everything else?
Yep. So I will find my mouse again. So here I showed you. Actually, I'll go back to the other one. Okay. So here I specify my image, and I said I'm going to use node image. The bit on the end, that's a tag. So each version of Node has tags that you can access. So I could change that to be v6.93, and that would download that specific version of Node. I could also change it to be v7, since I've decided I'm no longer going to be LTS and want to try the latest version or something like that. You won't have every version of Node, obviously. You'll probably, I know version 6 is actually version 6.9 underneath. It's just tagged differently. With Java, you have OpenJDK is just a major version of 7.8. The same is true for Python and Ruby, I think. So, and those are the ones these environments are resting. Yeah?
Because we're all crazy people and we love Docker, have you ever tried to run Docker in Docker, in Docker, in Docker, in Docker, in Docker, in Docker, repeat until you're comfortable?
No, because I like my machines. But if you want, I'll run on your machine.
I have a dev server that we can use.
It's a production server.
I have lots of servers. We have lots of servers. I have lots of servers.
Yeah. But yeah, so I can. Yeah. Any other questions? Just because people asked me this last time, where's a good place to look? Docker has some amazingly detailed docs, properly versioned. Little hard to navigate on your first try, so just try searching for what you're looking for as opposed to actually going through it all. If you're looking to do some work on a specific version, just go onto the libraries, so the Node library, the OpenJDK library on Docker Hub, and look at the versions. If you're worried about image size, there's always going to be a version, not always, but there's mostly a version called Alpine, which is a really tiny version of it. you have to rejigger your Docker files sometimes, your DocCompose files, because they're not the pure versions they are, but their image sizes are much smaller, which means you don't have to worry about filling up your hard drive, and can also be a lot nicer, because a node image is 600 megabytes because it has all the features of it, while the Alpine node image is 20 megabytes because it doesn't use GCC. It uses its own compiler for compiling native modules. This can, of course, break for some of your native modules, but other ones it works fine on, and I've not had any problem switching to Alpine. We change a little. If you want to watch some stuff, I have learned everything from going to 2 years of FOSDEM and talking to people there and listening to their videos and talks. They're not always Docker related. They're kind of, this year was more microservice related. But if you're running a microservice, you probably want to run into a container anyway, just for development. So, good place to look. And then a picture of a cat. Any other questions? Cormac, anything from online? Any stupid questions?
No, they're talking about the news.
Yep.
What can we use instead of Docker?
You could use LXE, which is which someone is shaking their head at the back of the room, because it is painful. It is very painful. It is the native container environment in Linux, which Docker is actually just wrapping up really nice APIs around. So there is also Rocket, which isn't a VM, but implements better control like VMs. It's been explained to me, and I still don't understand it. But it has its own version. It has apparently better repos. Has its own version of build files, but it's also compatible with Docker build files. It's written by the CoreOS people who write Kubernetes as well, and operating system design running Docker. But and then if you don't like Docker, you probably just want to be on a VM and not be using containers at all.
What's this Kubernetes thing you mentioned?
I didn't want to talk about Kubernetes, but while we're here and I have loads of time, Kubernetes is an orchestrator. So every time I've been talking about development, an orchestrator is what you would be deploying, is what would be managing all your containers and your production environment. So Kubernetes would take your image, your latest image, once you build it, run it through all your source control reviews and everything, and it would pull it down and deploy it out so everyone can see the new hotness that is your application. Anything else? All right. Thanks for coming.